Morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in a couple of moments here as people start entering in. So all right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar series here from Food Processing Skills Canada. My name is Jennifer Griffith. I'm the Executive Director here, and looking forward to today's session, From Compliance to Confidence. We've known Paul now for many, many years. I've known him since I was a young pup, and he's always doing great things in the sector. So much knowledge and leadership in the area of food safety, businesses, operations, and so forth. He's now with Culture Advisory Group, Inc., a new founded organization, and it's going well and doing strong. So we're really happy to have him with us today. So, a few housekeeping items before we get going here. The session is being recorded, and we will be sharing that after the webinar. Your AI readers and recording tools are not permitted, so those will be removed if you have those in place. Please submit any questions and Q&As, not in the chat, but in the Q&A section feature of the application. And then we'll address questions throughout the session as well, and then at the end. So we should have good enough time to be able to answer any questions that you will have. And we'll also have live polls throughout the session as well. This is something we do on a monthly basis. So usually the last Thursday of each month is when we hold these webinar sessions on all different types of topics to really upskill, inform, and educate the industry regarding food and beverage manufacturing and beyond. So today, our session overview around this topic is: have you ever walked out of an audit feeling relieved, but not entirely confident? That tension, that lingering question of are we truly protected is exactly what we're here to talk about today. Welcome to From Compliance to Confidence. This session challenges the idea that food safety is just about passing audits or maintaining certifications. Today, food safety risk is a boardroom issue. It shapes brand trust, business reliance, financial performance, and long-term growth. This isn't just a quality problem, it's an enterprise-wide responsibility from the front line to the executive table. If we want real confidence, we must move beyond compliance, and that's exactly what today's speaker is here to help us rethink. Please join me in welcoming Paul Valder, who will show us how to shift from simply meeting standards to building true organizational confidence. And I will turn it over to you, Paul.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And welcome, everybody. And again, thanks to Jennifer and her team for helping to arrange this. This is great. And I think we're all going to be talking a little bit out of our comfort zone today, even though we all have backgrounds in the food safety and quality side of the business. I'm going to share my screen as we go here. And hopefully this works. There we go. Tell me if that's all good on your end, Jen.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and so compliance to confidence. Yeah, an enterprise food safety risk optimization challenge for everybody. I'd like to just uh, set the stage if I can by just sort of giving a little bit of a different lens on things today than we may be used to. And I know we're going to be talking to all different levels of people that are attending today. Please understand that we're not targeting one particular group here, as it does start from the floor right through to the boardroom. And so we need to see, and you need to have a lens in terms of where you fit in that scope. I'm assuming that we all love to do what we do. We've been in the food safety and quality business for many years. This is a shift in dynamic for sure. Every now and then something comes along that sort of changes the way we may want to look at things and how we've done things in the past. And today it's about that step change. That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to ask you that during the presentation to think about your own challenges in your business today and look at the information we're sharing, with a new lens. Try to think of it in terms of how you might apply it to your business. Not just necessarily, in the food safety or quality silo, but, if you're if you're coming to the meeting today from a different department, that's fine, whether it's procurement or R&D or whether it's a senior level leadership group. Think about it in that new lens and how this can apply. And if you are looking at it from a food safety and quality perspective, think about what you can do in addition to what you already do to improve what the food safety programs, the quality programs, and also obviously to make sure we're all doing the right thing. We all know, we've talked about this for many years, that food safety is not a point of competition. It's not a competitive issue. It's something that it doesn't matter where in the world we are. As consumers, we all expect that our food supply will be safe. So today I'm talking about something new to food, but not necessarily new to other sectors. And I recall many years ago, before ISO-based audits came into play and our voluntary GFSI standards, that the food industry seemed to lag behind many of the other industries out there, such as, mining or forestry or automotive or, aerospace and so on. So I think that I'm seeing, sort of what goes around comes around. I'm seeing this as the next sort of horizon for our food industry as a whole, and where we need to go. So we're probably all asking what are we doing here today? And it's all about risk as we talk about risk as it relates to food safety and quality. So, and really the big question is what we don't know about a food safety risk can actually become the company's biggest liability event. And that's really, it's about, managing what we can't see, which is kind of ironic. So that's why we're gathered today. You might ask why you want to listen to me and so on. Just a little bit about my background there for you to take a look at. But as Jennifer was so graciously said, I've spent many years, since 2000, I guess, in the food safety and quality business from a standards perspective, both voluntary and regulatory, but also developing those standards, looking at compliance, and whether that's from an auditing perspective or an implementation at the plant level. I've been in many, 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 many different facilities around the globe, and I've worked with all parts of the supply chain from consumer right through to the retail side of things. So there is a little report here. If you want me to send you a copy, I'm happy to send you a copy after the session, just on our topic today. We also, a little bit of the history of how we've shaped the industry over the years. We've been involved right through from the Canadian development of the HACCP program, right through to today and everything in between. So, we started with GMPs, we went to HACCP, we looked at equivalency with the US. We've developed all kinds of different standards that are voluntary based, things like Canada GAP and the BRC programs, the GFSI type programs. We've even worked with the Feed Assure program for the animal feed program that's recognized today. We've worked on the consumer side with the Celiac organization, where we developed a gluten-free certification program that's been adopted now and and deemed equivalent in many countries around the world. And more recently, worked on plant-based programs, developing a cannabis program, and more recently at Culture, our enterprise program. So we do operate, US and Canada right now, and I'm happy to share with you why we're doing what we're doing. So as Jennifer pointed out in the beginning, everybody's gone through an audit where you go, oh my God, I hope I passed the audit. I hope there hasn't been, something hiding in the closet. But I think if we set the understanding that documentation, which we're all very familiar with, takes up a tremendous amount of our time, it doesn't really equate to execution necessarily. And sometimes there's a gap there. And there's often, like I say, a disconnect between what we've developed as a procedure or a policy and what the real behavior of everybody in the facility and even at head office actually conduct. Organizations, you can appear compliant, as we know, but we can also, we're technically and operationally still exposed in many areas. So passing audits can create a false sense of security because, again, in many cases, we're looking at the past rather than looking at the future or the current state. And we need to emphasize that risk needs to be understood going forward. How do we understand it? Not just as a QA or food safety element, but how do we understand it as a business, as an enterprise? So I want you to put that enterprise lens on, because it's not always about just the facility, but it's about the higher up and the other facilities that play into the ecosystem of your business, and also of course corporate. So my first polling question is coming up now, and this is designed to sort of get a temperature of where we're at, and are the audits that you're conducting actually giving you confidence or comfort in what you're doing? So there's 4 questions. I think somebody's going to put them up. That's great. The first question is, and feel free to we're going to open it up to polling here, is when your facility passes an audit, so let's use GFSI as an example, what does your leadership usually assume? And I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about your leadership team. What do they normally assume? And if you're a part of that leadership team, you can answer this too, of course. So do we view that we're fully protected from a major food safety event happening, or that we're compliant, but we still have risks that exist? Or is it mainly driven by customer requirement, and therefore we need to do the audit? And do you view it as reducing paperwork and stress and not the business risk? So that'd be the first question. And go ahead and answer your questions. I'll just continue on with, in your organization, how is food safety risk primarily viewed? Is it viewed as a QA department responsibility, or is it viewed as a regulatory compliance obligation? I've got to do it because I've got to meet CFIA or Health Canada or FDA or whatever. Or is your company is it a company-wide business risk? Do you view it as something like that, that everybody has a role? Or is it a customer-driven certification issue? So all I need is that certificate. I need to pass the audit and give that to my customer, that certificate, so I can sell to them. And the sales team can sell to them. The other question number 3 would be, have you experienced a near miss that was not detected during your audit? If has that happened at least once, multiple times? Or is it the answer no, that the audits catch everything? Or you're not sure? So feel free to just answer that the best way you can. And number four, what best describes your audit experience? Do you view it as a snapshot in time? Is it documentation heavy from your perspective? Is it valuable, but it has limited value? And does it help you fully predict your risk? So if you can go ahead and answer those, and then I think we're going to feed back those questions in a moment. Just seeing where we're at time-wise. Probably should let Jennifer's team feed that back to you. Wow. Great. Thank you for doing this. It really does help set, who we're talking to and some of the points we need to maybe stress on throughout the presentation. So 13, is it 13%? Is that what I'm looking at, Jennifer?
You're at 62%. So 24%, we are fully protected from major food safety events. 62%, we are compliant, but risk still exists. And C, it's mainly a customer requirement at 10%, and it reduces paperwork stress, not business risk at 5%.
So that's good to see that, I think that means that most people are committed to the food safety piece and delivering that food safety outcome that we're all looking for, rather than just using it as a means to conduct business. It's great. Number two, where are we at there, Jen?
Oh, we're doing the next one? Yeah. Number two, in your organization, food safety risk is primarily viewed as a QA department responsibility, 16%, a regulatory compliance obligation, 16%, and a company-wide business risk at 63%, and a customer-driven certification issue at 5%. So
fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It is a company-wide risk issue, business risk. So glad we're all viewing it that way.
Good.
Number three.
Have you ever experienced a near miss that was not detected during an audit? 35%, yes, multiple times. B, 35%, yes, at least once. 12%, no, audits catch everything. And not sure, was that 18%?
Yeah. So again, at least once is dominating there, and which is important to understand how we can mitigate that as we move forward here.
Right. And the last one, what describes your audit experience? What best describes your audit experience? A snapshot in time, 12%. Documentation heavy, 24%, which I would still agree. Valuable but limited, 47%. And fully predictive of risk, 18%.
Yeah. So valuable but limited is the logical answer. I'm glad to hear or see, and you'll see why, and how what we're going to talk about today is going to help that number. So thank you for that. We'll move
Wonderful.
on. Yeah, that's great. That's super. So I think we all agree, and then the last poll just showed that audits are important, and they're important for business, but maybe they're not enough, from a business enterprise perspective. We know that it is a snapshot, that there is somewhat of a narrow and inflexible, and I'll talk to that in a minute, scope there. It looks backwards. It's a paper. It's really generated as a paper exercise. It is, although it was designed in the beginning to drive continual improvement, whether it does or not is questionable. In my opinion, it's still, in my opinion, more of a checklist and less of a risk-driven tool. It is a compliance approach. We know we're trying to comply with the standard that we're trying to become certified in, and it's very facility and department focused. We know that. it's somewhat, and I've talked to a lot of people. I talked to a gentleman yesterday in the US who was a former vice president of quality for a major international food company. And he said it's become commercialized and gameable. He said certifications are seen as a cost of doing business by the senior leadership teams. We know that there's auditor and CB shopping that goes on. I had a great auditor. I love what he does, but he's moved to a different certifying body. So maybe I should think about contracting with that certifying body so I can get my auditor back. So that's not really, the intent of this, but it does happen quite a bit in the business. And we also see variable auditor competencies. Every auditor has different levels of competency and so forth. Even though calibration is a big thing, we still have a lot of variation and the lack of time. We usually find that and this gentleman did share with me that our most of the people that are undergoing audit just want the auditor to get done and get out. It's a time burn. And the other issue there is that the standards as they're being revised are adding additional requirements to their standards each revision, but somehow the audit is not increasing in time. So something has to give. We found they're inconsistent, more reactive in nature, differing auditor perspectives, pressure-driven compliance and documentation over really culture. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about culture after, but and we see an erosion of trust in the system right now when it comes to global audits. We've seen global, growing addendums. You've got the likes of Costco and McDonald's and Walmart and all these companies adding their own addendums to the existing audit you're conducting. They're becoming more prescriptive in their requirements, and there's a lot of operational duplication that we're seeing, which is, to me, a sign of a lack of confidence. And just to add quickly to that, we did an analysis a year ago on the different addendums and compared them to all the GFSI recognized audits, food safety audits. And there really wasn't anything in any of those addendums that are not already covered in all the various GFSI standards already. So, you have to ask yourself, why is that necessary? Why do we do that? So what we say based on what we know is that, audits really are not enough. And we saw that in your recent poll. There's room for improvement. The audits, if you think about it, are designed for replication. Okay. The food sector categories and the business practices make every company unique. So everyone's unique. Every site is unique. Every process is unique. Even though dairy process might be similar, your individual business processes are going to be unique to your business. Some are old, some are new, some are large, some are small, and so on. So every auditor is supposed to be calibrated to be consistent, but we see different levels of calibration. We see some inspection-based approaches to auditing versus a risk-based approach or competency. So those are different. Each certification body should be operating consistently, despite their businesses too. So they're in business to make money as well. So they have their own priorities. So you need to consider that. And each scheme or food safety standards benchmarked is equivalent. However, I'll call it the shuffle around the deck chairs on the Titanic approach happens, which is what I just mentioned. You're changing standards. Sometimes you're changing CBs, sometimes auditors. And it's to try to make sure that you have a successful audit and you can maintain your certification as well. So the big question is, why are food recalls not going down? And this is an FDA output, not Canadian, but I think that you can see a lag there where we went into COVID in 2020. where audits now couldn't, auditors couldn't get into facilities to audit. There were, but then you see post-COVID, things starting to go come back up again as far as major recalls. We look at it; they're up 41%. And since 2023, that's what the deaths have doubled on the recalls as well. So this is very significant and very alarming, to be honest. We know what the cost of a recall is. I don't have to tell you guys that it's upwards of 10 and 20 and 30,000 in the case of Maple Leaf, who is a Canadian recall we're all familiar with, was $27,000 back, $27 million, sorry, back in the day. And that's a few years back now. And we've seen most of that happening in the prepared meats area, the deli area. But we're seeing, emerging issues in plant-based beverages. We've got a major one going on right now with infant formula. So we don't seem to be moving the needle with all the audits we do and all the efforts we do make, which are phenomenal efforts. But somehow something is not is failing us as food safety and quality people. So what is food safety? What is food safety risk not? Okay. So when we talk about food safety, it's not an audit. Okay, it's definitely not an audit. It's not only, and it's not limited to one facility. It's limited, it really starts at the corporate level, starts at the head office level. And it's not focused on HACCP only. I mean, it's a lot more than just focused on HACCP and the pathogen risks that we associate with HACCP and others. And it's not limited to only our quality and our food safety heads. So it goes beyond that. It goes into all the other departments. The other thing it's not is a public document. It's not like an audit, which we share with everybody. This is an internal issue, an internal discussion, and a conversation that we need to have internally. So that's important. And it's not a process you perform once and then put it on the shelf. And it definitely is not a static checklist of questions. So, I put a little phrase here. You can write, and the right's written wrong. It's WRITE, and that's done on purpose. You can write beautiful policies and procedures, but if they're not what you do, they're worthless, right? We know that. So we can write nice manuals, everything's great, look on paper, but it's about the people. So we're going to go into polling question number 2, which is, where do you think your risk exposure is? And then this is going to reveal an interesting set of responses, I hope, from you all. And I really appreciate you guys answering these. So the first one, if you want to run through it, is, where is the risk exposure, your risk exposure? Where do you believe the greatest food safety risk actually resides? Is it on the production floor? Is it part of your supplier management issue or program? Is it change management? When you do formulas, ingredients, process changes, is that where you think most of your risk lies? And then, is it a senior leadership decision-making risk that you perceive as the issue? And could be all of the above, you don't. And then number 2 is, do you and your organization, do you formally define what the food safety risk appetite is? In other words, is it yes, it's clearly documented and used, or is it an informal discussion that you have once in a while, or is it not defined at all? And maybe you're not sure, so you don't feel bad if you're not sure. And number 3, if a major recall did occur tomorrow, would you be held accountable or who would be held accountable, sorry, first in your organization? Is it going to be you as a QA manager or you as a plant manager, food safety manager, I'll call it as well? Or is it the CEO and the executive team that would be first held accountable? Or is it the brand? I mean, if you're a co-packer, for example, or a co-manufacturer, you're working with a lot of different brands. So is it them that really are responsible or accountable first? So it's something to think about, right? And how often is a food safety risk discussed at a senior leadership meeting? I quickly want to mention something here. I talked with the head of a major ingredient spice company that you all may know, who is their global head of quality and regulatory. He came from the automotive industry. He told me that in Europe and the companies he worked with, there was never a senior leadership meeting where quality was not at the table to make decisions. That does not happen very often in the food industry. So, when you're looking at this, think about, is it every month that you discuss? Is it quarterly? Only after an incident happens and everybody's rushing around, reacting to it, or rarely?
All right. Well, let's read off the results of the poll here. I guess we'll end that. All right. So where do you believe your greatest food safety risk actually resides? 58% say all of the above, which is good. And then A, 21% at supplier management level, and then 17% at the production floor execution level, and then 4% at change management.
Yeah, so that's good. All of the above, and you're right. I mean, all of the above needs to be, and I'm gauging by some of the responses, Jennifer, that, and I don't know who the audience is today, the total audience, but I'm judging by this that, it's probably a lot of QA and food safety people on here
Mhm.
because, they're answering these questions as I expected. Let's move
Good.
on.
That's good.
Thank you for your votes, guys.
Does your organization formally define its food safety risk appetite? Yes, clearly documented at 52%, 35% informally discussed, C, 9%, no, not defined, and I'm not sure at 4%.
Yeah. And clearly defined, documented is again being documented and actually, doing it is another story. But yes,
Mhm.
that's good to hear that, there's a fair amount of that's clearly documented.
Mhm.
But let's move on to number.
Like this third one. See, if a major recall occurred tomorrow, who would be held accountable first? 50% QA manager,
Here you go.
38% say the CEO executive team, 8% the plant manager, and 4% the brand.
Yeah, so less than half would be attributed where the executive team would be. You would think the executive team would be held. The finger gets pointed at QA and right away, right? It's
Yeah.
unfortunate and it's not good. And this whole process that we're going through today is designed to address that. Number 4.
How often is food safety risk discussed at senior leadership meetings? 43% say every month. We have 26% that say rarely. Interesting. And then quarterly, 17%, and only after incidents at 13%.
Good. Okay. Thank you guys for your help there. This is great. It really will help us in our Q&A as well. Let's move on. Close that. So what is this all about? What is food safety and risk optimization? We talked a lot about audits and what we're doing today. But this is a process, and it's a process that's not for everybody. I'll be very candid about that. I mean, there are companies that, this is, won't even twinge at maybe at this and think that they don't need to look at risk in this fashion. But it's for world-class companies or companies that want to be world-class. It's a process that, to access expertise and to reduce risk and drive profitability. And there is a direct line between managing risk and profitability. So this is going to appeal and resonate and should resonate with C-suite. It's a method for the senior management, the C-suite, to rethink and establish priorities and also to introduce technology possibly to proactively identify, and the bolded word here is predict, and prioritize risks, okay? Again, confidential evaluation. This is, I mentioned earlier, this is a conversation internally. It's confidential, and it evaluates, and it's dynamic, and it looks at the people actions who expose the business risks. So again, process is one thing, but it's the people that really are the risk in the organization. Okay. It addresses a company's processes for sure, but also people and products. So we look at everything, and we need to look at everything. And it benchmarks both the corporate and the operational risks. Again, we start with corporate. Then we may end up going and looking at facility level, depending on the number of processes, the types of operations, the size of operations. We may be visiting multiple facilities. We may only, if it's a single process, it might only be one facility. So depends on a lot of how the operations manage themselves. I was talking to a company a few weeks ago. They're a manufacturer. They have their own brand, but they also produce most of their products for private label. And they have 41 co-manufacturing agreements, 41. And everything from ice cream to cookies to meat and seafood. So go figure. You think they got a bit of a risk issue, exposure somewhere? They might. So, but it also establishes measures to avoid future likely catastrophic risk events. We in the risk industry, you talk about a catastrophic event that would be a major recall. Okay, it provides a risk profile. So you end up with the senior team and ends up in the business with a risk profile that can be monitored, can be reassessed, and trended over time. And you've got to understand, risk is there's never no risk, and risk is a good thing in some cases, but you will have a risk profile that's changing day to day. So how do you deal with that? How do you manage that? Somebody decides to buy another business or introduce a new product. Now those are risks that are changing and need to be evaluated every single day. So I look at this as, and if you know our friend ex-FDA Frank Yanis, who is the food safety culture guru, preaching and written books on food safety culture, there is no one solution for, out of the box food safety culture. You can't go and buy it at the store and open it up and now you've got a food safety culture. And nobody's really cracked the nut on that. So, we look at this as a pathway to building a food safety culture. It's another tool. It's another thing in the box. And senior leaders in a company need to understand, where those risks exist. They need to be aware that C-suite needs to understand that on a regular basis. Sorry about that. So if we look at the types of risks that exist in the business, we have several different kinds. You've got compliance risks, which is more around your rules, regulations, government related things. You've got your hazards like your HACCP and environmental risks and failures. You've got your controls as well, which is process activity, and then you've got the opportunity risks, which are the potential upside for the business. So again, I'm introducing new products. I want to sell into Costco. I need to find another co-packer. I need to source new ingredients. There are so many opportunities that companies want to take advantage of, but they all come with a risk. Okay, so a product recall, as an example, due to an undeclared allergen, because the change was not managed properly. Now you've got an FDA warning letter because you haven't managed it. So where's the food safety risk? And I think we've all said on our poll just now, it's company-wide. Okay, and who owns it? Everyone owns it in the business, not just QA, food safety, R&D, whoever. It's everybody. And what's missing in the business to accomplish this? That's what we need to understand when we're going through this exercise. Hope that makes sense. So there's a lot of factors and indicators that help to come up and build that risk profile. And like I said earlier, you're never going to eliminate risk in a business. But it's a question of whether the CEO or the board understand food, number one. I mean, we've heard all the stories where a new CEO is parachuted into a food company, and oh, by the way, he came from the forestry industry. It does happen, and you have to ask yourself, that's not a good thing, because his level of understanding around the food industry is a risk in itself. But how do the board and the directors oversee the operations? So from a focus perspective, it's all about the market. It's the company dynamics, who you sell to. Do you have major changes going on, and have you had past recalls? And then you've got factors like the company ownership and the structure. As I mentioned, does the board hire a CEO with food safety knowledge? To my point. And then certain indicators, obviously your customer complaints. Do you have aggressive competitors in the market that you have to react to? And what risk does that pose? Large supplier-based dependencies. Are you, is all your eggs in one basket, pardon the pun, with your supply network? Do you use outsourced workforces? I ran into this with a client in Western Canada a year or so ago, where we could not get them certified in one of the programs. And the root cause issue on that was that they had a completely 80% outsourced workforce, including supervisors and so forth, and people on the floor that were changing on a regular basis. Could not get people trained, could not get people understanding the culture that they were trying to develop. It finally got bumped up to the corporate level, and there were a lot of changes that they made in terms of people to help drive a corporate culture for food safety. It took a lot, and obviously political and geopolitical issues that we're facing today in the supply chain is huge, right? There's also the regulations and so forth that I mentioned, FSMA, as you know, the FSMA traceability rules. There's lots of new rules coming into play. So how do they pose risk? It's an integrated process. So I mentioned this. It's a people and systems. And those people and those systems have to be aligned and move together. Okay. So you start with a risk focus, a business risk focus. You look at how you're going to assess things. You can use proven technologies and tools that exist out there to help manage it. And then, of course, advanced risk training. You need to be able to have somebody in your organization, at least one or two people that understand, the issues here and what risk and how to manage it and how to work with people. It's all about change, right? Efficient system-wide optimization, and looking at it from an enterprise-wide perspective. So on the right side, I just bought a couple of notes about managing risk is continuous. You have to have a plan. You have to execute on that plan, and you have to check that it's working. And if it's not working, you need to be able to bring it back to where it needs to be, and you need to continue to repeat that cycle over and over again. All right. So again, this is not a food safety role or responsibility. It's not a QA role and responsibility. It's everybody, and somebody has to champion that. And it usually has to be somebody from the SLT, or should be somebody from the SLT. One of the famous board level risk models is called the bow tie model. And this is one that's widely used in automotive, aerospace, some of the other sectors, but why not food? Why not food? Why are we not doing this in food? But you can see the source of the risks and what, where they intersect in terms of, people, premises, products, and processes, and then the impact it has on the business from various aspects of financial right through to the market and reputation risk. So this is, again, a very common model that can be adopted. So what does the process look like? I think this is, where most of us live and where most of the issues live. Again, it's we start with a confidential attorney and legal rule that says, we're not going to share information. It's an internal process. In many cases, we've set up confidential, call them, for lack of it, online rooms where we can exchange information in confidence and place documents in those rooms. Very often, it's things like this are elevated to a board level, if possible, certainly a senior management level anyway. The next step would be, how do we, go through and explain, how do we scope it? It's an interview process that basically we're looking for insights. And again, we're working, and the people working are working for each other. This is not, we're not trying to point fingers here or place blame on any one or any process. It's really designed to uncover. We want to know what the problems are. We want to know where the risks are. So deep research, again, into company operations. And I'm going to move along here in an interest of time. Corporate interviews would happen once we have a bit of a plan at all different levels: operations, procurement, quality, research, you name it. And then understanding this process is not shall we do it. It's determining where the handoffs are in the company, where the intersections are for risk exposure, how we evaluate management processes, identifying gaps, and then having an actionable priority list for targeted improvements. The anticipated deliverables when you're doing this, if you're looking at, again, it's not a 3-day audit snapshot, but it's a way of conducting business as a pathway, building a top-down food safety culture. So, you're looking for a deliverable of a simple executive level report that the board can easily look at. and the senior management team can look at and understand that identifies the top most vulnerable identified risk exposures. Okay. There may be more, but the top 10 are very important because those are the ones that are most likely to create a risk event for your business, and an action plan to actually systematically close those gaps, not unlike you do in a food safety program where you're trying to close gaps. You need to close these risk issues, and you need to have something in place to drive continued improvement from a monitoring and a reevaluation process, very similar to a food safety audit process. And from an ROI, which everybody wants to know about, how do you, you're going to be able to spot and reduce risks that others miss, drive continual improvement, optimize your culture, resources, and efficiency. And all this translates to bottom line. Empower employees across the business to deliver an excellence and expand customer base with trust and added confidence. But more importantly, build credibility and attract investors. Strengthen your resilience, your insurability. Insurance is a big one, and crisis readiness. And then secure long-term direction, value, growth, and peace of mind. I always say, this is one I use all the time, let the CEO sleep at night, okay? So, the last polling question here is, how would you describe, from, whether you're ready or not for something like this in your business? Again, how would you describe your current food safety system? What is it? Audit ready, well documented, risk aware, enterprise optimized. Is it across the whole business, or is it just your facility? That kind of thing. How do you measure the leading indicators, the key risk indicators, we call them, that are most lagging? And then, given the opportunity, would your leadership support a confidential enterprise risk diagnostic approach, or do you think that they put up their defenses? And what is your biggest barrier when from elevating the business from compliance to confidence? Is it budget? Is it buy-in from the leadership team? Very often, in many cases, that's it. Is it time and bandwidth? I mean, I'm not suggesting you need to do it as QA and food safety. It's as a business. You're looking at this, and do you have a resistance because of culture and do you believe you're already there? And turn it over to Jennifer.
All right, answers are still coming in here, so
How's our time, Jen?
we're running tight. So
Okay.
hopefully after this, we're at the end and we have a few questions
Yeah,
that
we
we'd
are.
like to
Yeah.
get to. All right, so I'll just answer them now. It looks like, okay, how would you describe your current food safety system? 71% say audit ready, or 63% now say audit ready, 21% well documented, 11% risk aware, and 5% enterprise optimized.
Right.
Do you measure leading indicators or mostly lagging indicators? 44% say mostly lagging indicators. 28% some predictive and fully integrated KRIs and with dashboard 17% and not sure what a KRI is 11%.
Yeah. Most of that is indicative of how do you identify and that's number A. They're lagging. How do you identify what those risks are?
So if given the opportunity, would your leadership support a confidential enterprise-wide risk diagnostic? Yes, 33% say immediately, 56% say possibly. If the ROI is clear, 11% say unlikely.
Right. That's encouraging.
Then 4, what is your biggest barrier to elevating from compliance to confidence? 12% say budget, 12% say leadership buy-in, 18% is time bandwidth, 24% interesting culture resistance, and 35% we believe are already optimized.
That's impressive.
Okay.
Very impressive. Thank you. Okay, just finish off here. We talked about technology. Technology is important today, as we know. There's a lot of technology that we're being inundated with and exposed to. I don't suggest that you adopt another technology platform. The average number of platforms in the companies are dealing with is 36 in a food plant. That's a lot of different,
Mm.
technologies to have to deal with. But I do recommend that you outsource something that can help you to manage that and keep you ready and understanding your risk profile day to day. And there are some really good solutions out there that are compliant with ISO 31000, which is the risk management standards and guidance. And there's a lot of benefits, obviously, to getting that data and being able to have a complete, concise, streamlined approach to this that you can give to your board. So in the last question, and then we're going to exit out of here, get on to some questions from you, is how do you rate your organization's food safety profile? If you had to think about it, you may not have all the insights, but if from where you sit on a scale of 5 to 10, 1 to 5 rather, sorry, how confident are you that the system could prevent a catastrophic event or recall in this case? Appreciate your vote.
All right.
Good.
So I think people are fairly confident. 3 out of 5, 35%, 4 out of 5 are at 38%, and I guess very confident, 29%.
Wow, great. Thank you. And it's nice. And I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys for interacting with us today and learning about this. Again, this is something new to our industry, but it's coming, and I see it being talked about over and over again on LinkedIn and through different venues and different conferences and so on. So thank you for attending. I'm open to some questions. One thing that's constant in our business, that's change.
Yes, and we're very resistant. I mean resilient to the change. I believe Canada overall as a whole. So, we always get hit left, right, and center with so many different things operationally, food safety wise. We have interprovincial trade, getting ready for that, and so forth. There's so much on our plates. But I believe we're a very resilient sector when it comes to that. So thank you, Paul. This has been great. I think a lot of good information and nuggets here. Let's see if we can get to a couple of questions. We have like a minute left. So let's see what we can do. And then I see there was a couple. I think we answered one already from Sean. Does it not speak to the culture of the facility? My belief, the plant needs to be ready every day and not once a year. So I think you addressed that one. You're right with that. And then in a multi-site company, do you believe that the SLT truly understands all the risks at every site? Hmm.
That is the essence of what we're talking about, and you're bang on 100%. The answer is no. Okay. No matter how these companies think they know, unless they are actively pursuing a risk management culture, that's going to be hard to judge, especially as I mentioned earlier, when you've got possibly different processes going on in different facilities. That's changing minute to minute.
Yes. All right. We're certified and audit ready. What are we still missing that could expose us to a major food safety event?
Yeah, great question. And again, you're looking at things when you say audit ready and you're getting great scores, that's fantastic. But you're getting a snapshot of what's in the past or what's current. You're not
Mm,
necessarily, and then you've got another year before you get your next audit. So, you're not necessarily managing the change.
mhm.
And again, it's not just a food safety issue. Food safety is affected by all the other departments as well, whether you're audit ready or not. So if I'm dealing with a supplier today as a procurement guy, and I'm trying to buy a product, my incentive may be based on how cheap I can get that product.
Right.
Okay. My incentive will be, okay, scale down and deal with one supplier, okay, instead of four, maybe. Well, now your
Mhm.
risk goes up. So you as a food safety person have no control over that necessarily. Your R&D people are, developing new products, and they're sending products down the pipe to you and expect you to manage the quality and the safety aspect of that. Depending on how fast that happens, and the company I referred to earlier with those 41 co-packers has got new product innovation coming out every friggin' week. Sorry to be
Yeah.
so blunt. And their food safety people are tearing their hairs out because they can't handle it. They can't possibly get these products to market in the time that senior management want them to.
Mm,
So there's, again, you've got to take your food safety lens off and look at how food safety is affected throughout the organization.
right. Good answer. Here's a good one. What specific food safety risks should the board be overseeing directly, or maybe SLT, rather than delegating?
Yeah, great question. So they need to be operationally engaged from a food safety perspective. And by that, they need to be understanding that, again, it's a company-wide role and responsibility, not just, segregated to the various department heads and silos. So if you're not talking if you don't have a champion at the senior level to actually work a cross-functional team and also be able to report on a regular basis to the board, that's what if you're missing that, you're exposed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So what early warning signs should executives be watching for before a food safety issue becomes a crisis? What are some of those signals, you think?
The silo mentality,
Hmm.
number one. A lack of communication, regular communication and evaluation, monitoring, not just the food safety hazards that we typically monitor, but the broader picture. Um, Again, it's the responsibility of everybody, and unless everybody is engaged in that process, uh, you're exposed again. Big time.
Because if you're like an entrepreneur or a startup getting into this space, um, all of this is very important. It could be very overwhelming and that as well, right? So I guess where you have a program for that, Launchpad, right? That we're kind of looking at working
Yeah, for
on.
the early startups, absolutely. I mean, I talked to somebody recently this week who is looking for a new facility. They've been making products in their home, or not in a smaller facility, not a home, but now they're looking for a bigger facility, and they're really not considering, they look at people tend to look at uh, GMPs, food safety, HACCP, all that, continual improvement, and putting money into that as a necessary evil, if
Hmm.
you will. Again, they're currently selling to direct to store, but soon as they do any warehouse drops and national drops, they're going to have to raise their benchmark to meet provide those assurances
Mm-hmm.
to their customers that they are being, proactive, and they are doing the right thing, I guess.
Right. Wonderful. Well, I think that wraps up our time. We're a bit over, but I think it was really great to get some of those questions answered. So thank you again, Paul. He's the Culture Advisor Group. Any information you want after that, looking for any consultations, you can connect with Paul directly. You will receive the presentation and the video recording as well, and a certificate that you would have for attending this session. So thank you very much once again, and have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody.